The following episode of the Comics and Crypto podcast is for informational purposes only, and anything expressed by the hosts or their guests is solely their opinion. This podcast does not constitute financial advice, and anyone wishing to invest should seek their own independent financial or professional help. Have fun and enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Sean O'Hare, and I know comics.
Hi, I'm Spencer Vogel, and I know crypto.
Hi, I'm Kevin Lee Loader, and I don't know shit. This is the Comics and Crypto podcast.
Comics and crypto, crypto and comics, collectors world in a digital age. Comics and crypto, crypto and comics, it's where the next billionaires will be made. It's comics and crypto.
Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Today, our special guest is viewed as a pioneer in the digital collectible space, is the founder and CEO of Quidd. Please welcome Michael Bramlage. Hey, Michael, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
So we like to start off with a fun question before we get into the deeper stuff. So what do you collect? Are you a collector?
I am, yeah. I started back in like the late 80s, kind of in the baseball card boom. So a lot of my, like what I'm interested in, a lot of like how I approach collecting was like forged, I don't know, like 1988 or 1989. So I'm probably like super old compared to you guys. But yeah, that was where I got my start. I've obviously been into digital collectibles for an incredibly long time, like almost nearly a decade. So no, as a personal collector, I love baseball cards. I love vintage, like vintage inventory from the 80s. I've gotten into some basketball cards as well. And then from a digital standpoint, I collect a mix. Like I have a Todd, I've got some other items on VEVE. I've played around with Hero, familiar with Recur, and then obviously I've got a pretty extensive collection on Quidd. So it may not be known to your listeners, but I am lurking and do maintain digital assets in a number of different sort of collections and marketplaces. So no, I love it. It goes back to sort of when I got started in the space, which is like I totally believe this format, digital versus let's say cardboard or plastic. It just so enhances the collecting experience. You can do it 24/7. You can do it across borders. There's no shipping. You know what I mean? There's no need to like do like a mail day. The trading has higher liquidity. It's just awesome, right? So it's really rewarding to see whether it's Quidd or VEVE or other companies sort of bring to fruition this notion that like, hey, look, if it's digital, it's actually a lot cooler than if it's physical.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, we're the same way. Yeah, we're obviously a lot of the content on our podcast is focused around VEVE, but we're huge collectors on all the platforms that you listed as well. Pretty much like anybody who's doing something cool in the digital collectible space, we want to be involved.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's cool because it's good projects can popularize other projects, right? And
exactly.
So it's good to it's
everybody
really
brings everybody else up.
100%. And so it's been rewarding from my perspective to over the last 5 or 6 years, kind of watch new entrants in the space and sort of get to know their take on it. VEVE's done a phenomenal job with the 3D figures, with AR, and the community is just phenomenal, right? So, we've been fans of a lot of these projects, and so it's really just fun to sort of be able to pop in and out of them and get to meet folks like yourself.
You haven't gotten into comic books at all?
I haven't. No. That's one itch I haven't scratched yet. From like a form factor perspective, it's weird. I'm like a classic card person. But it's so wild too, because we're still in this sort of space of like maybe PFP NFTs aside, maybe even video moments aside, but we're still largely kind of copying the physical world, right? Yeah. When you're thinking about the creation of a digital object, but that to me is another instance of why it's so terribly like early innings for this space, because the creative medium is code now, right? You're not bound by what you can make in a mold in a factory in China. You're not bound by like what comes off a printing press. Right. So we can literally create and invent sort of collectible categories that you haven't dreamed up yet. So it's really cool to see sort of everyone's innovation.
Well, if you have any questions about comic books, we know a guy.
I bet you know more than one guy. So no, but I followed along. What was it? The AK or AF-15 that came out?
AF-15, yeah, Amazing Fantasy 15.
Yeah, I follow those. I thought like the readability of those is quite cool. Like it's got utility, right? It's actually something you can consume and enjoy as well, as well as collect and trade. So no, I love it as like an observer of it. But my personal collection is like a lot more boring than that.
So actually, about baseball cards, what did you think of the 1/1 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle rookie card that was sold on OpenSea?
That was sold on OpenSea. Someone
Yeah,
sold what? It was like an NFT you could redeem for the physical card.
No,
No.
I think it was just the digital. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a little bit less, a little bit less fun. I don't know. I have like some hot takes on some of that stuff. Like, there's a blessing and a curse with the 1/1, right? They're great for a high clearing price. They're great for the headlines, right? They definitely bring some awareness and interest to the space, but it's kind of a rich person's game at that point, right? And like the way that you participate with that is you observe it as opposed to participate with it. Maybe they'll fractionalize it. There's some clever things you could do there, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm like a, I don't know, populist or anarchist at heart, but like some of the 1/1s I'm less interested in just because it feels out of the reach. Like everyday collectors, right?
You're spot on. Yeah.
Well, and I will say, having been a part of a number of collabs and drops that have come out over the years, it is so tempting to do that. Right? It's so tempting, you know what I mean? And you got to imagine, like, there's so many conversations inside these companies. They're like, oh, like, just do the 1/1, right? And it's so tempting. But no, as a collector myself, and someone who wants to think through the lens of like a collector, as well as like a sustainable business long term, sometimes the 1/1s can be a little bit damaging, and not as awesome for the community, but certainly good for the pocketbooks.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, it's cool to have it maybe as an option, to supplement a larger drop of collectibles that has a number of editions that people can get into that's more accessible for everyone. But I agree. It's to kind of only do a 1/1. It definitely leaves a lot of people out.
Well, you nailed it. The keyword is accessible, right? And I think that's what everyone in the space is trying to balance, right? You obviously want to offer things for the higher end and go up market, but you can't neglect fans and sort of true collectors that just can't reach that high, right? So that's one of the things I think everyone in the space is sort of wrestling with, is how can you make it as inclusive as possible, right? How can you accommodate the big time collector as well as keep it price accessible, technologically accessible, and really fun, right? For the individual collector, right? Some of these experiences can be a little bit too too high stakes, in my opinion, right? Some can be a little bit too stressful, right? How many people have to take breaks from the NFT space for their mental health, right? It's like, it's stressful, right?
Yeah,
So
it is stressful.
So that's the one thing I hope we never lose. And it's sort of grounded in probably my experience as a collector over the years, which is like, I don't ever want to lose the fun factor, right? The second it becomes too high stakes, too high pressure, too much like you're an investment banker, you kind of begin to get overly sort of assetified, and you get away from like what is freaking awesome about collecting, which is like having fun with the journey of getting your favorite items, and then also the people you meet along the way. So yeah, 1/1s are neat. Like, I probably like literally know the person that made that decision at Topps, but good for them. They had a really good quarter because of that one, I guess.
But to add to your point, we may never see that sale ever happen again. I mean, that person might hold on to it forever and just pass it down to his family, and like even that card in its highest grade, the 52 Mantle Topps, was actually at a card show recently. There's only 3 10s in existence from PSA, and they're saying that card could fetch as high as $30 million, and that one of the owners that donated it to put on display was the owner of the Diamondbacks. So he doesn't need the money. Cool. Probably doesn't need the money. He just wants to put it on display.
You mean the original physical 52?
Physical,
yeah, exactly.
Well, but this is the thing too that I really hope our space can sort of arrive at. Not like a $30 million. I'm sure any holder of a digital collectible right now had lust for the notion of it having a $30 million piece in whatever. But if you think about the story of that, a lot happened organically, right? It took 40, 50, 60 years, right, for that to appreciate to that level. And it wasn't manufactured, right? Yeah, certainly that year's set of base cards, right? Because there weren't all these variants or parallels that came out. There wasn't a new $300 set of die cut cards that were coming out in 1952. I mean, those things were bought by kids who love baseball, and half of them wound up in bike spokes, right? Or in garbage bags that their moms threw out when they went to college, right? So you could get to that $30 million number over decades, in large part because these weren't terribly precious in 1952. They were just fun, right?
Yeah.
And so you had a lot of loss, you had a lot of destruction, you had people forgetting they even had these collections and going back and discovering these hidden gems. So I really hope that's what takes hold in our space as well, is like people can realize, hey, this is about, it's a hobby, it's having fun, it's the thrill of the experience of, you know, opening a pack and getting the hit item or completing a set. It's the people you meet along the way. But at the same time, too, like you can't manufacture a $30 million number, right? It just, it's got to happen organically over time. And so I think that's what we'll see. Like, you know, the Todd at VEVE kind of has some momentum behind it, right? That's kind of the grail. We have our own grails at Quidd. There's one called the Ship of She that's from Star Trek that features Captain Kirk. Like that has its own like legend and mythology around it within our community. And so, yeah, I hope we get to that point where these items can attain mythical status and the price appreciation, but because of like the right reasons, right? Because it just happened organically, as opposed to like, you know, we had to push to get to $30 million in 1 year, you know?
Over the past 6 to 12 months, we've noticed a lot from the digital community. You know, a lot of them are first-time collectors coming into the digital space. They didn't really collect anything in the physical space, but now they're falling in love with their investments. They're falling in love with collecting, and now it's transitioning back to the physical. We're getting questions just as much about physical comic books, even like graded video games now and graded VHS tapes, and they're having fun, man. They're having a great time, and it all started with digital collecting, which is really cool.
Your experience 100% matches the experience we've had at Quidd. I've been in meetings in 2017 at Funko, right? Like uncovering the data that we had in our community and how cool it was that digital collecting actually was a massive on-ramp for physical collecting. And like in this pitch I gave to the guys, I'm like, first off, like half of our audience is female, which is kind of unheard of. It still is 50% female. Like it's wild, right? That doesn't map crypto, that doesn't map video games, doesn't really map NFTs terribly well. But that's something that's totally unique about what we do. Some of it is the way that we manage the collecting experience. Some of it is the IP that we work with for the drops, but Funko was like blown away by that fact because, you know, they're business people and for them that represents like an untapped market. The other part was half of our collectors didn't engage in collecting physical pops at all, but their interest in doing so went up because they started to build a significant, you know, Funko Pop collection of only digital assets in Quidd. So it's really cool that you guys have seen that, right? And that pattern matches like the raw data that I've been sort of espousing behind the scenes for half a decade now. But if you think about it, it makes total sense, right? It's actually more accessible, it's faster. The way to get in is like in 90 seconds or less. Like I can't in 90 seconds get my hands on a piece of plastic, right? But I can get that same experience with a digital object. So I think probably what you'll find is a lot of companies will have a mix of physical and digital might be actually your acquisition strategy to then sort of upsell into the physical objects. But there's so freaking early innings on this thing, and people are just starting to piece together, you know, physical digital hybrids. They're piecing together NFTs that are like backed by physical assets that are vaulted, right? Like it's going to be awesome in the next 5 years where folks like Quidd and VEVE and other companies take this space.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, I mean, we actually, both of us got our first ever Funkos through basically when Wax has done their releases and have done the digital drops, and then we've gotten the Grail pieces that we've then redeemed for the physicals. It's like I never owned a Funko before this, and now I have, I don't know, probably 10 or so from like all the different drops that they've done.
Yeah. Well, come to us. There's actually older digital Funko collectibles on Quidd. It's the earliest, and actually the first things we launched we're with Funko, like in 2016. You have to root around for some of those hidden gems in our marketplace. But
interesting, I had no idea.
So
are those considered NFTs, or are they just kind of digital collectibles?
They're digital collectibles. But the deal is we occupy an interesting space, which kind of makes us unusual because we started before NFTs. Because we started with a real emphasis on the fun and the entertainment value of collecting. There's a lot of inventory that you can get your hands on in our marketplace that are sort of markedly off-chain, right? And we tell you this is a digital collectible, it's off-chain, but you can still buy it for cash. You can still sell it for cash. You can still withdraw your cash from Quidd. So these digital collectibles on Quidd have all the properties of an NFT, minus perhaps interoperability, right? Then there's a growing segment of the inventory that you can buy on Quidd that you can mint yourself into NFTs, right? We just prefer to have you first buy it off chain because there's no gas fees. You can buy it at fiat. You can buy it at a price point that's like 45 cents or $4.50. And then we leave it up to the collector to decide, hey man, like it's your decision where you want to store this. It's your decision where you want to locate it. If you want to put it on Ethereum, go ahead. Or in the future, if you want to put it on Polygon or BNB chain or Flow, yeah, that's your right as a collector as well. So if you're not familiar with Funko, there's actually like, I think the proper legal term is shit ton. There's a shit ton of 3D Funko Pop digital collectibles, all
cubic shit ton.
Yeah, all individually serialized, all high polygon comp models. Many of them are animated. And again, my experience with collecting is like, I love the new drops, don't get me wrong, right? But I also love the discovery process of finding old stuff I didn't know about, right? And rooting around like digital versions of like garage sales and finding all this old stuff. So like, I would encourage your audience, if you didn't know that there's a literal shit ton of officially licensed 3D Funko Pops from many popular brands. Like I'm looking at Rick and Morty right now. That's all there on Quidd. And so that's, again, it's a bit of what makes us a bit different. Not only have we been around for like 6 years, and not only have we been doing this before NFTs existed, but we literally give our collectors an ability to create a Quidd account, sign in with that account, and have one single interface that shows their off-chain digital collectibles as well as their on-chain NFTs, right? And we're very, very upfront about it. And at any moment, some of these off-chain digital collectibles can be flipped and basically imbued with the power to move it on-chain. So,
gotcha. So do you need the licensor basically to agree to it to be able to move it on-chain though?
Yeah, we do. And that's why there's a mix, right? Because you've got to imagine, having been in the space since 2016, how can you bake a provision into a contract that gives you the right to make it an NFT before that technically was ever invented?
Yeah, you weren't thinking about that then, of course.
But the thing that we've done though is a really highly liquid cash-based marketplace that eventually will eventually use a crypto token for it. So think of it this way: it's like I don't know. Many of our digital collectibles are like grade A, and then many of them are like grade A plus. Where the ones that are grade A plus just have a few more things, a few more capabilities and utilities you can do with it, like move them on chain, bring them into a metaverse, or take them off chain or bring them into a new chain of your choosing. But I would say, like, it depends on the type of collector you are. But there is a lot of action around just the off-chain stuff. If you want to complete a set, if you want to own a number 1 out of 100, if you just want to own your favorite character, or even if you want to flip and speculate, we've got, I think, really accessible policies around deposits and withdrawals to be able to really engage in digital collectibles, but for real money.
So I guess as NFTs become more and more popular, do you still see there being a place in the market for off-chain digital collectibles?
100%. 100%. I mean, one of the things this NFT space, I wouldn't say is challenged by or struggling with, but one of the ambitions we all have is we want this to go mainstream, right? And it's not just because we want someone to sell to, right? We want to see our friends, we want to see our neighbors engage in this because we love doing it ourselves, right? But not everyone is going to be comfortable setting up a MetaMask wallet, right? Not everyone's going to be comfortable executing transactions directly on chain, right? And
there's a lot of education required around that, and people can really screw themselves if they don't know what they're doing.
I still get scared. I still get scared sending crypto to people, right? Yeah. You get like that little nervous, like, oh, am I really doing this? Right. So like, I still get scared of that. Right?
Oh, yeah. So I've been doing this since 2017, and that's like I had to move like my Clonex from my hot wallet to my hardware wallet, and I like freaked out. I was like, I hope it makes it.
Right. No, I know, right? But I guess what I would say is we want to be the most inclusive of the marketplaces out there, right? Which is why we've extensively licensed, big brands, Disney, Rick and Morty, Game of Thrones, right? Even NBA is on here and has been on here even prior to Top Shot, right? But another way to be inclusive is you don't smack someone over the face right away with some scary on-chain transactions, right? You can get them comfortable falling in love with digital collectibles that exist in an off-chain environment, but still have the full capability to buy and sell for cash. And then if they want, they can graduate into more of that degen territory, which we really like, because I don't want a world of digital collectibles that's only extremely rich, like hobbyists, right?
Yeah.
I want that 1988 baseball card feel where kids can do it, teenagers can do it, anyone can do it. And sometimes if the price point's too high, and sometimes if it's immediately on chain, well, that's a little bit more prohibitive, right? So we actually embrace the fact that we can seamlessly manage off-chain digital collectibles, again, that you can buy and sell for cash, or on-chain NFTs. I don't, we can get into some of the controversial stuff about what an NFT really is, but what we like to say is that if you as a collector choose to make one of your off-chain items an NFT, it actually goes into your MetaMask wallet, right? You can actually bring it to OpenSea. You can actually bring it to Rarible, right? So when we give you the power to do it, we want to do it for real without compromise, so that when you graduate into storing your stuff in your MetaMask wallet on Ethereum, or eventually on Flow or BNB chain, you're full legion at that point, right? You can take it, you can never come back to Quidd. You can have a party with it on OpenSea. You can bring it into the sandbox. It's truly yours. And that's where we see in the space, not to be critical, but there are some areas where there are some marketplaces or experiences that are kind of in between, right? Some's on chain, like of the object itself, like some is on chain, like the ownership record, but some isn't, right? So you can't really take it out, even though it's kind of on chain, right?
Yeah,
we don't think
that's how VEVE is basically. Yeah, I mean, technically they are NFTs that have been minted on Immutable X, but we don't have the full capacity to be able to move them wherever we want to, and sell them on marketplaces outside of VEVE. Everything's kind of contained within the ecosystem at the moment.
Right, and that's where it's there is some diluting of what the term NFT means, right?
Yeah.
But we view it that we should all come together as a sort of coalition and help define for the collector exactly what an NFT means, right? Where we can say, like, look, dude, if it's almost like organic, right? You don't want like the USDA to be like, this is organic, but you're like, oh, what does that even mean, right? Like,
yeah.
So you don't want to mince words around the technical sort of underpinnings of the asset, especially when the value of the asset goes up, right? You want to be totally clear, totally straightforward with that collector. Like, hey man, if it's called this is exactly what you can do with it. And so the big thing that we want to push the industry towards is like, dude, if you call it an NFT, like the ownership record has to be on chain. It has to be in a self-custody wallet. The media and metadata for the item also have to be on chain. So for the media, the art that is connected to the receipt or the ownership record really can't be on AWS, right?
Yeah, it's got to be on IPFS or
IPFS,
yeah,
or like Arweave, right?
Arweave too, yeah.
Right, and so I think that's what you're going to find is it's going to be natural, right? Like we've all got these bags, right? We've all got these digital collectibles. Some we just love. Some actually have real world value, right? That we want to protect and maintain and preserve. And one of the ways you should do that is to move it on chain, but do it with the full confidence that you can read the fine print and be like, yeah, man, like this is entirely on chain. This can live for 100 years, right? So long as the chain lives for 100 years, and I can give this to my great grandkids. So we're not quite there yet as an industry, right? There was a period a year ago where like anyone can call anything an NFT and create a lot of heat for it. When really you would like double tap on it and be like, I don't really know if that's what Vitalik intended, right? When he dreamed up like this blockchain. So anyway, I think the whole industry will get there eventually, but for us, we really take sort of a philosophical stand. It's like, look, dude, if you call the thing an NFT, every layer of what makes that collectible has to be entirely on chain and like can't be done without compromise. Because again, you're dealing with expensive items, right? So I think you'll see more and more of that from us. And the way that we handle it is imagine a menu of smart contracts that you can get into, right? Which is not dissimilar from like physical cards, right? Like get some valuable, there's a whole cottage industry set up to get things authenticated, graded, and insured, right? Minting something is a little bit of a parallel to that, where it's like, I got this valuable off-chain thing, like I want to protect it, I want to back it up, I want to have the peace of mind of actual digital property rights, and I'm gonna pick this smart contract, and almost like what that does is like put a case around it, right? The blockchain in some ways,
I've never thought about it that way. I love that.
It is, no, it's like this is how we talk to our community, who many of which aren't degens today, but are exhibiting incredible degen behavior in our marketplace, is you would want to do this for a couple of reasons, right? One is you're just moving the location to perhaps a more secure place, right? It's like putting it into a safety deposit box. And people in our community really are like, yeah, I totally get it, right? Like some of my baseball cards are cool under my bed, some are cool in a binder, and some like I actually want to protect the hell out of, right? And I'm going to store off premise in like a hermetically sealed safe somewhere, right? So one reason to mint for our sort of non-degen community is that for peace of mind and safety and security, which is a bit commensurate with like shipping it to Collector's Universe, right? And getting a grade and a slab for it. The other thing that is totally far out there and super early innings, but like just so freaking cool, is what we call at Quidd mint to play, which is this notion that you can mint an off-chain object into an NFT that at the process of minting converts it into a playable game piece in a metaverse like the Sandbox. So imagine having like a Jon Snow Game of Thrones digital trading card on Quidd and then minting it into your self-custody wallet on Ethereum, that the second you connect the Sandbox, it converts into a voxel character of Jon Snow.
Yeah,
you can run around with. And so that's a vision that we're going to unpeel or sort of unpack for years. But that's an instance of like why this, pardon my language, but why this shit in digital form is I think cooler than cardboard and plastic, right? Like you can take a collectible and technically you can transform it and portal it into an amazing on-chain metaverse, right? And like run around as like the character, on the object. So anyway,
and then move it into other metaverses as well, and you can one can be interoperable and be used in 5 different places, and it could be represented completely differently in each place.
Absolutely. And Quidd is at its core, we're a product and technology company. We can geek out on how this stuff works, and we love the vision stuff, right? The vision helps warm up the future community to the tech that we're going to deliver, each quarter or each month. But the thing on interoperability and portaling objects to and from, like, people got to deliver on that now, right? We've been talking about that as a promise of blockchain for a long time, but like, let's friggin' deliver on it, right? And so you'll see from us opening up that gateway to the Sandbox, which is a sister company of ours, also part of Animoca Brands. And it's just what I love about it is when we ship it, it'll be this year, when we ship it, it's not just talking about interoperability, right? We're already enabling people to mint to sell on OpenSea, right? Or mint to sell on Rarible. It's kind of a mint to flip scenario. But this mint to play tech that we're going to launch soon delivers on all these promises in our interoperability. Literally, like, mint or unmint your object into the Sandbox, run around with it, and then unmint it to bring it back to your central hub on Quidd, right? So I love the fact that like the vision is bold and ambitious, but we're heads down, writing the code to actually make that a reality. And it's going to come out this year.
And now a word from our sponsor. Looking to buy or sell physical comics? Then check out Elite Comics 11, Instagram's #1 community-powered comics sales page. Elite Comics 11 is our favorite place to safely buy and sell comics. They are a CGC and CBCS authorized dealer and sell a variety of comics, from Silver Age Grails to modern-day keys. Inventory is updated daily, and don't forget to check out their incredible, almost daily live stream comic sales. The next time you're looking to buy or sell physical comics, make sure you turn to Elite Comics 11. Follow at elite_comics11 on Instagram and see what all the buzz is about.
With over 325 brands on Quidd, what are some of your favorite collectibles that you've launched on the platform?
So this is the time I'm supposed to plug like the most popular ones, right? But I don't know. Like there's Disney.
There's different. There's popular, and then there's your favorite.
Yeah. I mean, the popular ones by trading volume. I mean, there's some comic book stuff on there that I think also you might find on VEVE. Disney's there. For Trekkies, Star Trek is there. There's a number of animated properties that are there. Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty was like our entire 2017. Like Rick and Morty was just blown out, and I'm just waiting for the world to like discover that. Because the way we do collectibles isn't just like, okay, here's one grail, right, that we just drop, and there's like different editions, of it with varying degrees of rarity. We have a creative studio that does considerable research into the IPs that we license and work with. and they'll get inspiration from certain episodes or certain attributes of the character. And so it's not just about let's make a realistic high polygon count model that looks like Rick Sanchez. It's like, no, let's dig into the narrative arc of the show and make it super authentic for that fan. And so for Rick and Morty, I'm actually like looking at it right now. There's like 500 sets to collect. Each set is officially licensed. Wow. Each set has like a copywriter, right, and an artist, and modelers, like really putting care and attention into them. So it's not just a lot of vintage inventory to discover, collect. It's also something that I think is a bit of it's gonna tickle a true fan the right way, because it's gonna feel like it was made by fans for fans, because it was, right. So Rick and Morty is a huge one for us. My personal favorite is Bob's Burgers, and actually, like, I didn't get into Bob's Burgers until I started collecting it, and then I just realized how absolutely hilarious it was. And I through the cards, through the digital collectibles, through the Funko Pops of Bob's Burgers, I actually began to watch more and more of the show. So I'm kind of that classic of like discover IP through the collectible and then become more of a fan and engage further, because that was my gateway into it. But
I feel like I have that same experience with collecting. There's a lot of things that I've collected, especially like comic book stuff that I've collected that's now gotten me more into the actual IP and learning more about it, researching it.
Totally. There's so much of it that's about fan engagement, right? Which is also why, like, not to overly, use the word, but like accessibility is super, super important, right? Yeah. 101 can't get more than one fan super engaged, right? But if you're able to sort of do a diverse assortment of sets, hit really accessible price points, but still maintain, the value. We have an inventory system that individually serializes every item, so we can print 100 copies of one digital collectible, but obviously the number one out of the 100 retains a boatload of the value, right? So we found a nice balance where, without paying too much, you can get your hands on a rare digital collectible of your favorite character, your favorite show. But also, if you're more premium minded, if you're more focused on value and price appreciation, you happen to get that 1 out of 100 or that 2 out of 100, and you're kind of sitting pretty.
Yeah. In general, what's your view on like I guess the mint numbers and serial numbers of collectibles? Are you like a low mint collector? Do you like special mint numbers that coincide with the IP in some way, like the publishing date? But what's your view on that?
We call them lows in our community. I'm a lows collector. Mm-hmm. It might be. We are too. I don't want to like upset anybody, but like I won't really buy much that's not under like 100 and below, mm-hmm. right? So I don't really touch. I like, and what we have, actually, this is where we're more tech company than maybe like beat our chests and market ourselves type of company. But our marketplace is pretty slick to navigate those lows. We actually call out like a comparison of, hey, you're looking at this listing to buy from somebody else. You have a copy of it in your collection. Oh, the one you're looking at actually is lower, right? So we make it really easy if you want to upgrade your collection and go low hunting. We also, the way that we manage it is a lot of our collectibles are released in sets. So it's not just about, hey, get this one figure that dropped on a Saturday, right? It's no, actually this digital trading card or this digital 3D figure, whether it's mintable or not, comes in a set, right? There's 8 similar ones or 12 similar ones, right? And there's a real sort of desire to want to sort of collect them all. And we even do some fun things too, where like we will basically score everyone's sets and then turn that into a leaderboard. So the desire to get a low isn't just because, hey, if you think the price is going to appreciate. It's actually, if you get lots of lows, you'll score more highly, right? And you'll actually get some prestige and status by showing up on a leaderboard. So that's kind of one of the unique things that we built like 5 years ago that was like really hard to build, but like makes the collecting experience super fun, super inclusive, and more thrilling, right? Because we want it to be more thrilling than just sniping on the aftermarket or just pulling a low on a drop, right? We want there to be some negotiation. We want there to be some trading. Right? We want there to be, rooting around late at night into the marketplace to see if that one person listed that grail that you wanted, that you need to complete that set, right? So there's a lot of that, but I implore you guys to check it out because it is distinct from a lot of the other experiences out there. We do see some folks like, Top Shot and stuff trying to, copy some of those little fun things we've got. We applaud them. We think that is like the sincerest form of flattery, but yeah, check it out. And this is also why too, like, this is why we're big fans of other folks in the space. Everyone's got their own unique take to it, right? People collect for different reasons. Some are economically motivated. Some are about just the community and the thrill of it. We definitely scratch a couple different itches, which makes us a nice complement to a VEVE or to a Hero or to a Recur or to a Top Shot.
Do you have utility for completing sets, like where, if you complete a certain set, then you get an airdrop for a new collectible? Have you guys done things like that?
Yeah, we like invented that 6 years ago. I'm not kidding. Yeah, that's some of our most valuable items are award items that you can unlock if you happen to collect a bunch of lows, rank highly, and maintain that rank at our snapshot. So it's funny, all these other services that are like, there's a snapshot and then we'll airdrop you this valuable app. Like no, like we did that 5 years ago. So yeah, no, there's a lot of utility that's baked in. But don't get me started on utility, because utility is one of these words that's like, almost as liberally tossed around as interoperability.
It is,
but not like, not fully delivered on yet. So I would say that there is utility in regards to, we have the way we shape our collecting experience is almost like chases, right? And there'll be these really intense periods where a collection drops and people will just be totally ravenous in the aftermarket, buying and selling to get the right combination of items. And the utility that's baked in there is that if you happen to, land, on the leaderboard at the right time in the snapshot, you're going to get airdrop something frankly even cooler than what you collected.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like your platform really rewards collectors rather than people who are just, speculating and trying to make money, which I love.
Well, I think that this is we've got a mix of everyone, right? And this is this inclusive big tent concept that we've been, we'll never give up, and that'll always be part of our vision, right? So there's a place for speculators, there's a place for snipers. They provide liquidity in a marketplace to authentic fans, right? But we started with and will always support as our biggest sort of subsegment of collectors that true fan, right? That person that is in it for the love of the character, right? We love the collectors that do their research and do their diligence and analyze markets and look at trends and attempt to understand where this space is going to go in the near future. We love those collectors, and there's a lot of surface area to accommodate those collectors. But at the heart of it, we think it's healthiest because markets go up and down, right? Trends get hot and then they don't get hot, right? If you're just chasing a return, there's a lot of different asset classes that you can spend your time in, right? But the fundamental thing that will always be there is the fan, right? And is the love for the IP. And so that was our starting point, and that will always be a big segment of our community.
I'm a romantic, so you're speaking to my heart right now.
Well, but again, it's like, it's like in 1988, I was building my collection and going to card shops because I was a fan of baseball, right? And I freaking loved learning about these old players by going through the old inventory and having that experience, and then talking to the OGs at the card shops or at the you used to have to only go to these events, right? That's the fun stuff. Yeah. And other things, that's the sticky stuff. That's the stuff where you get stuck in and you're a collector for life. So if it's just sterile, asset trading in front of sort of fake Bloomberg terminals, that's cool, right? Like everyone wants a win and big return, no doubt, right? But you gotta have that emotional component, that romantic component, because that's the sticky part, right? And I think that's where the fun comes in too, right? You don't really need to take a mental health break from the fun of collecting, but if you're rolling the dice a lot with high stakes, that is a little bit more stressful.
Baseball cards, that's what started my love for collecting. I used to read Beckett's, obsessed with Beckett's. I used to just sit by the mailbox and wait for a Beckett to be delivered in my mailbox so I could read it frontwards and backwards and just tear it apart. And I didn't realize this at the time, and being a 7-8-year-old kid and buying these cards, speculating on baseball players and how well they're going to do that year. was based on the value, right? So the prices go up and down based on the performance of the players. So like when Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were going for the home run record, I was like, I need to get the rookie cards because their cards are going to go up in value. And sure enough, like preseason went after the cards, got it, and worked out pretty well. Like I didn't realize looking back then, like little 70-year-old Sean was investing back then and speculating on all this stuff. It was wild. And
well, that's your front door, right? That's your entry into it, right? It's so I was at Topps. I was at Topps way back in the day, like 10 years ago, when this whole sort of adventure into the world of can somebody own something digitally, and can that experience as a digital collector actually rival and be better than physical? So I was there, and our CEO at the time, who gave us the green light to incubate a lot of these very sort of prehistory digital collectibles and NFTs, I think he got into business because he started the card collection, right? And because he sort of ran his roving hobby shop and like learned how to set up a booth at a show and buy and sell, right? It's awesome. And that's again why like this shit's always got to be accessible, right? You've always got to be inclusive. Can't be too terribly expensive to start, right? And if you do that, you're gonna be just fine, long term.
So transitioning to Animoca brands.
Yeah,
they've been making some incredible moves at Web3, which include their acquisition of Pixowl, the developer of Sandbox, in 2018, and also Quidd back in 2020. Some of the things that have changed since this acquisition.
There's a lot there, and I think what I love about our journey, both backward looking and forward looking, is there's a lot of people that rushed into crypto and kind of rushed into NFTs, right? And because it was hot, right? If that were our MO to sort of get in and make a quick buck on some hot trend, this would be like the longest con in history, right? Because again, like we've been doing this because we are collectors ourselves. We love collecting, and we just think that there's a format shift, underfoot, which is from cardboard and plastic into digital. And we're just huge believers in how, whether it's interoperability, portaling objects from one metaverse to the other, enhanced liquidity, again, no shipping, right? I mean, like so many reasons why digital is going to be so much better than physical. But yeah, I think with Animoca, it was just it was jet fuel on our support for the blockchain and multiple blockchains, on our ability to develop, real technical means to portal from one metaverse to the other in an open, interoperable way. We've got a token that you can learn a lot about more on November 19th. And obviously, their support isn't just about capital, it's about a network of investees and subsidiaries. So like interoperating with OpenSea is pretty darn easy when they have Animoca brands as an investor, right? Yeah. And I gotta say, their support is incredible. We are grateful, we are blessed. But it's the notion that these synergies that are required to build an open metaverse, right? To literally connect environments and connect companies, that can be realized at a greater scale and faster and done like for real, not just because it sounds cool, because of the network that Animoca Brands has pieced together, right? So like mint to play, to portal a digital trading card into an on-chain playable metaverse game piece in the sandbox, that's real because I can pick up the phone, right? And call those guys. So it's been just an incredible accelerant for our business. And we're just, wait and see, right? We don't like to make big pronouncements of like, this is going to come next and going to change the world, right? We'd rather put our heads down and build. And they've given us the ability to do that and the network to do that. I think that's the thing you'll find from us too, is that we're very partnership heavy. We're very partnership heavy. We're not going to build our own metaverse because we can't build our own metaverse. Like we're very realistic in how daunting that task is. A AAA game takes 5 years, right? A good metaverse can take 5 or 7 years, right? The Sandbox is crushing it, both with their token and with their metaverse and with the value of their NFTs. But that's at least 10 years in the making, right?
Yeah.
Right. But what has that produced for them? Like a really great metaverse, right? And something that exists that you can use today that isn't a roadmap item for 3 years that may not be delivered. So it's been wonderful, the relationship with Animoca Brands, because it has utterly accelerated all these sort of like futuristic portability, interoperability things that really is the promise of NFTs and the promise of crypto and the promise of the blockchain.
Yeah, I was first introduced to Animoca through, I think it's like Formula One Delta Time, like
Yep.
a few years ago at this point. Yeah, so I still have like a few of those original, cars and car parts that I haven't really done anything with them. They've just been sitting in my wallet since then. But
Think about 2019, the 111 racing car sold for like $110,000. That was the eye-watering clearing price, right? That was the headline. And now think of how the world has changed, right? This industry's grown so much, and I don't just mean like having the word NFT on the cover of Time magazine, right?
Yeah.
But just the number of people in the space, the incredibly interesting projects that are coming out, the different approaches that people take to collectibles. It's just been leaps and bounds different from 2019. It's just built and built and built. And so that's why, despite where the markets are right now, like we are utterly bullish on where this space is going. And it sounds so cliche, but like it truly is terribly early in this space.
Yeah. No, we completely agree. So you mentioned before that Quidd is going to be launching its own token pretty soon. How do you see that fitting into the ecosystem that you guys are building at Quidd?
Very thoughtfully. Let's put it that way. We use all the marketplaces, Looks Rare, OpenSea, Rarible. We're students of them. As I said, we like to lurk and observe before we out ourselves. The way the token will integrate will be very thoughtfully done with an eye towards like long-term health of the ecosystem. And I say ecosystem because I don't think the world knows yet that Quidd isn't just a website you go to. There's a wallet, there's merchants, there's a network. There's a network of interoperability that will exist tied to this wallet. And what will power that network, what will help with the interchange of all these hubs and spokes will be our token. There'll also be elements where we obviously want to reward our best collectors, whether it's an airdrop as a thank you for supporting us, whether it's tied to positive, not artificial wash trading, but positive behavior in the marketplace, right? Like helping onboard new collectors, right? Those are the things you'll see incentivized with the token. And the token itself has incredible utility in our marketplace. There are things that we need that token. Marketplaces need a token, I firmly believe, because they're just things that you can't do with fiat gateways. There's these nasty things called chargebacks, which create a huge vector for fraud. Right.
Yeah.
As scary as it is, maybe to send crypto from one wallet to the other, that it can't be pulled back is actually a good thing if you're operating a marketplace, right? Because there's less chargeback risk. So
yeah, VEVE had a huge problem with that. They had an exploit where there's a significant amount of money was being fraudulently taken out through credit cards, and
exactly. So our token, you're going to hear much more about starting in middle to end of November. It's really going to grow from there in terms of like its integration into the marketplace, how much you hear about it, and sort of what you can do with it. But it's at its fundamental core, it's a utility token that is the preferred currency of our future marketplace. Right? It's not, there aren't clever burn mechanics tied to it. It's not a side project. Right? Yeah. In November, it's going to just collide in the healthiest of ways right into our marketplace.
It's very cool news to hear that Quidd's going to be attending LA Comic-Con. We were there last year and it was so much fun. What are some of the things
going again this year?
We're going again this year. Yeah. What are some of the things that are exciting to you about this event?
What's awesome about the cons is that they're incredible opportunities to engage with the fans, right? To meet your community face to face, right? Show them love. But it's also a great time for exclusive drops, right? Talking about uncovering hidden gems and vintage inventory, we started doing exclusive drops of digital collectibles with Funko, I think at San Diego Comic-Con back in 2017. Again, it's you got to root around like searching for truffles in our marketplace, but there's a lot of that really, what the kids would say, dope stuff from the cons that were like exclusive and dropped like at the con that's in there. So I imagine we'll run that back for LA Comic-Con this year.
I'm excited to dig around on your marketplace and see what I can find.
Let's do a promo code for your community.
Oh, amazing.
Great.
So what we'll do for your guys if they want, and your gals, your whole community, if they want to check out Quidd and really get a head start in building their collection with us, right? You want to explore Rick and Morty, you want to buy something, we'll give you a head start. And probably no better way to experience it than start ripping open some packs, finding some of those hidden gems in our marketplace, some that you can mint as NFTs, some that we'll hold on your behalf.
Yeah,
sounds
I would
awesome.
love that. I'm sure our community would too.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome.
Well, Michael, it was such a pleasure having you on today, man. I really appreciate you coming on, and it's been so much fun talking to you. Such a
Yeah,
blast.
such a fun discussion.
No, likewise, guys. And I will say, like, when I started experimenting with this stuff, digital collectibles back at Topps, and when we started Quidd in 2016, I never envisioned, maybe it was my lack of foresight, but never envisioned that there'd be a whole cottage industry of, you know, great folks like yourself, right, that are doing this industry of service, right? You're talking about it, you're sharing the tips, you're sharing the tricks, you're helping onboard, you know, tens of thousands of people into the space that we all love. So I just want to thank you guys for your service, right? And thank your community for, you know, for getting involved in, let me tell you this. Everyone I talked to about digital collectibles 5 years ago said it was crazy, right? They said this is the stupidest thing that they've ever heard, right? It's the good work of guys like yourself and your community that's actually flipped the script on that, right? What we started doing that seemed weird, that seemed esoteric, that seemed like nobody was doing it, we're willing it into existence. And we're making it something that millions, if not billions of people are going to do. There is going to be a future in 30 years where a billion people are going to hold a digital asset that only exists in digital form, and they're going to look at it on their phone or through their headset like it's nothing. Everyone's going to do it, right? And you guys are super early, and you guys are super helpful to sort of spreading that vision and making that vision a reality. So more than anything, thank you guys. Like, I'm super grateful that you'd had me on.